everybody, it's Annette Green here today again. Thank you for joining me. I am here to introduce some brand new products from Elizabeth Craft Designs. They have a brand new square mini TN, Traveler's Notebook. And this one is black, although it is painted and covered like crazy. And then there's another style that they have too. And then of course we have a whole new set of art journal dies. And so the theme of this one is Picture It. And there are 6 new dies, which I use 5 of them in this, so you'll get to see that. Also, another whole set of little stencils, which is wonderful, and a handful of stamp sets, which I did use a few of these. So I'm gonna get started here in a minute. Let me just clear the way and give you a very quick look at the project, okay? Like I said, it's square and it is loaded. This thing is full. So we have all kinds of stuff going on here. I'm going to show you how to make all of this, how to paint on your journal, how to get fabric on your journal. Just very, very quick little spin through. We have little vellum pocket pages, lots of accents with silver, lots of pink, lots of black. The paper, incidentally, is Graphic 45's new Elegance collection, which is beautiful. This cute little pocket, this little magnetic closed pocket. We have little sealed wax seals and ribbon and lace and journaling cards and stamping and stenciling going on. It's a fun but elegant book. A little different than the art journal style, but still a lot of fun to take on your travels and to document things as you go. There's another little pocket. There's a cute little zipper. Look at that. Lots of fun. Oh, the puzzle page. Where's the other part of that puzzle page? So much fun, this puzzle die. I had such a great time making it in this collection. Between Graphic 45 and Elizabeth Crafts, you can't go wrong. It's just gorgeous. There's another one of those pocket vellum pages. More journaling. Another little pocket with a magnet, more lace. A little bit of silver, little stamping, little bling here and there. So I'm going to show you how I made the whole thing. Little tips along the way. And I will also be sharing how I store my dies, where I buy the products to store them in, and the magnets that I like to use, and a couple of other things like that. So let's dive right into the project. All right, right off the top, I just decided that I was going to paint the front of the journal. It comes very black like this, but it has like a cloth-like texture. It's not leathery. So I did paint it, and all I did was gesso it kind of messy with my fingers, and once the gesso was dry, I started to use embossing paste through like texture paste through a stencil. I used the stencils that are with this particular art journal collection this time, and I used these little dots for the cover, and then I also use these flowers and these flowers. Now it's scary because I mean, you know, you got your one shot. This is the only journal that I had, and as it was going, I was thinking, oh no, not great. It's not bad, it's okay, but I know that now I want to do some things to kind of dress it up and camouflage it a little bit more. Just to go back, when I stenciled, I did use some regular acrylic paint because I knew that the gesso was underneath there. And then I know that throughout my album, I want to have some silver accents to all the pink and the black. So I did grab my Ranger mixatives in the silver and used a little dauber and just kind of hit some places here and there with that. And then a little bit of embossing on the front was just kind of pale and clear. So I used StazOn and another little fingertip dauber and just kind of lightly rubbed around the edges and on some of that embossed texture. All right, so what I think that I want to do, and I've seen someone else do something lovely like this, is I want to now add some trims and some embellishment to this thing. So I have just grabbed some wonderful tulle, has a little silver sparkle in it. I grabbed some pink ribbon and also some gray with a little white rickrack to it. And I sewed all these together. The only thing I want to do before I glue this onto here is go with my pinking shears, and I just want to cut the tulle so it's not that folded over edge. I'm going to do that real quick. I just sewed this together on the sewing machine real quick. Couple rows of stitching. Sorry, you can hear my cute little beads jangling around on the end of my scissors here. I got this bead string from my friend Betty at one of our retreats, and they're orange beads, and they came on a different pair of scissors that were really cute, but these are my orange handle scissors, so I thought that would be cute. All right, so I'm just going to go in here with some Fabri-Tac, and I'm going to glue that right across just below my elastic closure. I've also grabbed one of the chipboard elements from the Elegance collection, and I put some little pink ribbon in there and tied little knots on the end. And I think I'm going to put that up there, and then I might work in something else, something a little silver. I do have a little charm here I might put on the closure, but let me just kind of play around with this and show you what I did. Okay, so it's looking pretty cute. I went ahead and adhered that on. I have my ribbons on there. I did go in with some fray check. This is just from all your sewing stores or sewing departments. And I just hit the edges of the raw edges of the ribbon just so that they don't fray over time. So I've got a little chipboard piece here from the collection. I've got a little heart and I've got a little key. I switched out the heart that I had because it was just too big. So that is just going to be on the elastic closure. And now I want to do something down here. So I gathered up some of my kind of scrapbooking buttons, I want to call them, because they're not really buttons. The shanks on them are plastic and they can cut easily with the scissors, which is exactly what I did. Or you can use a tool such as this to trim off the back so they lay nice and flat. So I'm going to put these down here, and I also have this bee seal. Focus. This is actually a wax seal that I created with a seal that I have and some wax. And the person that's getting this knows that I love bees, and so that's my little nod to them from me. So I'm just going to arrange these on here, and I am going to use the Fabri-Tac again and just put those on there, and I think I'm going to call the cover done. Okay, I feel like this is done, and I like this. I'm happy with that. All the glue is dried, so I can handle it now. And now I want to work on the inside here. I'm not going to paint in here all over the place like I've been doing on the cover, but instead I want to put some of the decorative Elegance paper inside of each of these. But before I do that, I feel like I want to have a little bit of pink in here. So I'm going to take just some scrap paper and just kind of lay it behind that deckled edge. And I've got my little dauber over here. I'm going to get two different colors of pink paint I'm working with here just to get kind of a variation. And I'm just going to hit the edges a little bit, almost like I'm inking edges of paper. And it may not show up really well now, but when I pull the paper away, you'll see that pretty edge. And I don't feel like gesso is necessary on this little edge treatment here. It's taking the paint nicely. I'm just kind of going over it and making it darker as I see fit. You can definitely build it up if you want. So look at that. I think that looks really nice. All right, so I'm going to keep that in there and let that dry. And I'm going to come over here and do this side, and then I'll glue those papers in, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. All right, my paint is dry, and I'm putting my papers in here, and I thought I would mention that I cut the papers 3.5 inches by 4.25. And again, I am using Fabri-Tac because this feels like fabric, and so far so good. It's been working well. Also because it slides into place, kind of nice because the glue is wet just for a short amount of time. So I'm being a little generous. And I'm just gonna slide it right in there. I've already done the inside front cover, so I'm just pushing this in as far as it will go. And I'm gonna get in there with my bone folder and just kind of make sure those edges get glued down well. If any of this glue kind of oozes out, which it did on the cover here, my inside cover, I just took one of these guys and picked that right off. All right, so before I put away the Fabri-Tac, you see how I got a little paint here? Can you even see it? Yeah. So a little bit of that white gesso, I think, got in there. And I want to dress up these pockets anyway, so I went ahead and grabbed this cute chipboard label from the collection. I tied some black twine into bows on each end. I added some pretty ribbons, like 3 different kinds with black and pink and a little bit of silver. Just kind of glued those to the back, and I'm going to adhere just on this edge so it does retain the side pocket. And I'm going to do this one over here. This one has a pretty fan and flowers. So I'm just going to put adhesive over here where it touches the pocket part. So let me do that real quick. All right, put some big clips on there, just kind of hold that in place, and I'm going to set that aside while it's drying, and I'll show you some other things that I've been working on here. So, working with the new dies, I have a couple of things prepped ahead of time here, and what we have is the Art Journal puzzle page, and I can talk about how I store these gigantic dies like this, but let me first show you the die itself. So all of this comes with this die and more. So we've got this big giant piece, right? It's like a trifold with a little, like a pocket edge here. And so that's what has created, I have some things tucked in here and here, but that's what's created my first, we'll call it a signature cover. Okay, I have glued down the pocket part over here just on the pocket edges, so now it's a top-loading pocket, and then I've left this one free. There's a number of things you can do. You can always seal up these 2 sides and make it a double pocket, but because I want it to go under the elastic in the book, I have left this flap open, and so that's that one. We are going to use a lot of these dies for some photo mats. We're going to try out this puzzle one that's going to be super fun, and I'm about to show you that I've used this one here, which is great for in the pocket, and that's what this one looks like here. So I've cut it out of black cardboard, out of paper, and then the paper that I put in between, not absolutely necessary. I just thought that looked kind of pretty to put another piece of paper in between. And the way that I achieve that is just to put it between the 2 layers and then cut right along the edge. Okay, so you can see I've got some plans here for some other ones, but you can see that you don't have to put anything between. That's pretty just by itself. But it does need, you know, some pretty sturdy cardboard on the back. You couldn't just do this out of paper. It'd be a little bit flimsy in these delicate areas here. But because I have nice sturdy black cardboard on the back, not cardboard, cardstock, that can hold up. Now this one is another one that I did. This just has frosted, just regular vellum in between. And this one has ivory on the back instead of black. So you can kind of mix and match and do what you like. But going back to that first one, I've used the Patterns and Solid paper in the black. Okay, so the pocket itself, before I sealed it all up, I put in some printed vellum that has a little bit of a pink floral, a little bit of black, very vintage looking. So I put that in between there before I sealed that closed. Okay, so then this one will go with this. And then inside I've been playing around with the journaling card that looks like this. And here is a double photo mat using those that I showed you earlier over here. So a little black and a little bit of pink. So I'm just kind of thinking ahead of what I'm going to do here, but I kind of have things laid out. So I'm not going to go too far just yet. I'll show you how I've prepped a few things. And I will get back to talking about how I organize those dies. So I have some little doodads I'll share with you later over there. Each one of these will have a little embellishment with silver and a chipboard tag. But this one is, again, with the printed vellum sheet. It just kind of mutes it back nicely. Sometimes if you're journaling or maybe even something that you put in here, you don't want it to be readable necessarily. That kind of masks it back a little bit. So inside this one, I have planned to use this journaling card, and I will be trimming these down because they're just a little bit taller than the actual page. But that's an easy thing to do. So I have that one ready with that. I'll talk about these little buttons. They're from a different die, but I've just used some silver cardstock to cut out 3 buttons. And then my third one, I've got another one of these guys. I think that was supposed to go back over here. Okay, then my third one is also the colored vellum inside so that they're all the same. And then a journaling and ephemera card for over here. And then a black and pink photo mat for this side. Okay, something that you do need to know when you are cutting out this particular one is that the die is exactly 12 inches long. Okay, from end to end, it's like exactly 12. Let's see. Make sure I'm exactly right. Yeah, it is exactly 12 inches. So that is a little bit of a problem if you're cutting scrapbook paper that's 12 by 12. So if you notice, when I grab my, this is a big old sheet of this particular one, okay, and you can see that these just look like squares, but when you look at the pattern paper, it's a diamond. So I had to go on an angle when I cut this out, and that's okay because I know I'm going to use this and this over here for different things, but you just have to know that it's not going to reach across your page. So I just kind of put a few little pieces of non-sticky tape on the edges and then cut this close to the die to make it fit through the machine. Same thing with the pink stripe back here. You can see that this stripe is a vertical stripe, but when you lay it on here, it's now going to be a diagonal stripe, which to me, that's pretty fun, right? So it's going to be more like that when you cut that out with the die on an angle. Okay, so just something for you to know. All right, let's go back to this very quickly about storing large dies and storing dies in general, because I do get a question or two every time I post a video. How do you store your dies? Where did you get those envelopes that you use? So let me just talk about that really quick. So occasionally you'll have a really big die like this, and we already know it's 12 inches long. It's not going to fit into any envelopes I have, so I just grab a file folder. I have these, you know, this is the bottom of the file folder. You can see the little lines right there. I cut these to 6 1/4 tall by the width that they are, which is like 11 5/8. I don't believe I cut anything off of this measure, but no, I didn't. Okay, so I cut the top off where the tabs would normally go, and then I make a circle punch notch here with a circle punch, And then the actual chipboard that I mount my magnets onto is 12 inches by also 6 1/4. So when I cut this down, can you see my sewn stitch line there? I did that on the sewing machine. Okay, just this right side. I leave this left side open, and then I just kind of tuck this in. And yes, it sticks out, but at least it's in my bin with all my other ones stored the same exact way. Nothing falls out down here. You could always put a clip or something up here, but this has been working for me, so that's what I like to do. And then these are, normally I use the Sizzix. So this is a, let's see, this is a scrapbook.com. I'm looking for a Sizzix one. Okay, this is the Sizzix one. So they look very, very similar. I've been using the Sizzix ones for a long time. These measure 9 by a little over 6 1/8, it looks like to me. And it's just a frosty envelope that looks like this, okay? Works very well. And so I cut just a piece of scrap chipboard that I have from packaging or something down to 5 1/2 by 8 1/4, and then I put my magnets. A lot of people ask me what kind of magnets I buy, okay? And I get these from Amazon, Marietta Magnetics. Flexible magnets, and they have adhesive on the back. They're 8 by 10. You get 10 sheets, and I have a lot of pieces in here because I've been cutting them up, but Amazon. So I will cut the magnet. It's still the 8, but then I'll cut it in half by 5 so I can store 2 sets of dies out of one sheet. Okay, so that's the Sizzix one. And then I just recently found scrapbook.com has some of these as well. 8 3/4, so a little shorter, by 6, so a little shorter that way. Either way, with those measurements I just gave you for your chipboard piece, your cardboard piece, those are both going to fit. Doesn't matter which envelope that you use, okay? And then I just use my little label maker to relabel the pages. All right, so there's that. Now, going back to some pages for my journal. So you've already seen these 3. I tend to work in 3s and kind of repeat a little bit. That just seems to be my way because there are 3 strands of elastic in the album, and so many of the traveler's notebooks are like that. So I tend to just make 3 signatures, make them just slightly different than each other, but kind of the same feel, okay? So the next couple of pages that I might do would just be plain pages like this. And if you can see on this die, this is called the Art Journal Polaroid Page. And there is the page die, okay? So I cut each one of these out with the page die, and then I have some plans of things stuck in here. Just a mat on there for now. Cut with that one die that I showed you earlier, and I'll make some plans for that right hand side. This one I actually put in something that I die cut here. I'll show you that in a little bit out of that silver cardstock. But I'm just sort of getting a plan in place and trying to figure out what I want to do. So I just do all this prep work first. Okay, so another page design would be that same page die, the plain page die, and then I used like all the darker papers here. So inside of here I've decided to use the Polaroid page die. This die here in particular is this over here. I've just used different papers and the silver cardstock around the outside edge to create a very pretty frame. And so all 3 of them have that, and I'll show you in a minute. And then over here is this cute, cute pocket. So let me find that. You saw it a moment ago, the jeans pocket they call it. Also from this art journal series, there's the little button I said I would show you later. There's a heart, and then there's this great stitched pocket with all the score lines and everything built in there. So that makes this cute little pocket. And I have added a little magnet between the layers here, but it's such a great little place to put things. And there's that magnet. And so this might get adhered right into here, and then this one over here. So here's my second one, cute, with a different photo frame over here. So this is how it looks when you cut it out. And I have folded on all the little score lines over here. There's 1, 2, 3. So those are going to come in. Now you can wrap them around if you like, or you can tuck them in. I don't think it matters a whole bunch. Sometimes if you tuck them in, whatever you're sticking in there kind of catches on them, but I think I'm going to do mine that way under there. So that one is done. That one gets tucked over here. Still going to just put those aside. And then I wanted to show you one more that I made here. And I'm not sure if I'll make more than one for this particular album. We will see. So this is from the Art Journal Sealed Pocket die. And this pocket has all these cute little holes in it. It's got these splattery things, like a wax seal kind of shape, which we'll talk about. And then this tag. So I did use the pocket die to make that out of black cardstock, nice and sturdy. And then this is the back of my silver cardstock. Got that pretty top edge to it. That top edge comes from a different die. Let me grab that. Okay, that comes from the Journal Edges die. It's not part of the new set of dies. This is an older one that we've had around for a while. So I use this pretty edge right here. Kind of matches the feel of what we're doing here with like this. So I use that for the inside. And it's just a piece that's been cut down to 3 3/4. And mine is probably about 4 1/8 high. So it's just the pocket itself is glued right to the back of that. Okay, I used a little bit of the cut aparts. I used the heart from that one die we saw earlier. And here's the great little tag. I did mount it on some black just so everything's as sturdy as can be. And then some pretty ribbon with some twine at the top. So that's another thing that you can do. Finally, I have just grabbed a bunch of sketch paper. I have this wonderful ivory color because if you notice in a lot of the papers, it's not white. So I went to my sketch pads and I cut out using the page die and then trimming it down. So the height is the same, but I trimmed down the width to 3 3/4, so these pages don't stick out past any of the other pages they're getting tucked down into. Okay, so I did 1, 2, 3, 4 per signature. Okay, so these are things that you can leave completely blank. You can grab those stencils and some paint and do a little bit of art journaling stuff to them. You could sew ribbon onto the edge, something I probably will do. I've got all these great trims over here of different types, pinks and blacks and silvers. Okay, so those are going to go in there. Also, we have these great things that I've got prepared. A lot of fun stuff to play with here. So these come from back to the Polaroid Page die that we've been using. And it's this piece here that looks like a ticket and a half, basically, which makes just a cute little treatment. So I have folded on that score line. You can fold this around a page. I have these little cut aparts that fit on here perfectly, or you could just put it on the page like that. We'll see what we're going to do when we get there, but I have these kind of ready on here for each one of my signatures. So those are prepped and ready. Another fun thing I did was, did I save it anywhere? Okay, so there's these wonderful stamp sets that come with this whole art journal series, okay? And the one that I used is the Art Journal Chic. See the fountain pen there? So I grabbed that and I stamped it on several different papers. Okay, you can kind of see it's a little paper piecing deal. So I stamped the pen probably 3 times, the light pink, the darker pink, and this pattern paper. Okay, and I used the lightest pink one as my base because there's the other side of the paper, see? And then I just fussy cut around the details and stuck them back down to make a very pretty, elegant fountain pen. So that's just something else fun for an embellishment. Now you've seen some of the cute little things that I've been die cutting and setting aside, like these 2 little hearts on they look like little wands, don't they? So there's something. That one is from the Polaroid Page die that I keep using. There's a lot of things on this die that are very fun, such as this zipper pull. Isn't that the cutest? Little zipper pull. This wonderful tag, and those hearts that I showed you, and also there's a little banner that I had cut out here. Yeah, this little banner is on there as well. Yeah, so I cut all those things out in silver, and you saw the silver buttons. That's from a different set. So there's those are fun. And now to go with the zipper, this is really fun here. That comes from the art journal My Edges die, and it's this one right here. It comes in 3 pieces, so you see 2 pieces laying here. I think that's all I'm going to need. So those are great. Those look like the little zipper thingies, right? So that'll be cute as an embellishment somewhere on the pages. So all that's just to kind of give you an idea of pieces that I've gotten ready. Really don't have an exact direction yet, but this is kind of how I work. I just cut out a bunch of stuff and then I start to put it all together. So I've cut out this piece of paper a little bit bigger than the die. I have put the double-sided adhesive on the back and burnished it really well. I think this is going to be a pretty image to do this with. We'll see. And so I'm going to grab this puzzle die. I'm going to go over to the die cutter and I'm going to cut that out, and I'll be right back. And I'm doing A-OK over here. So I basically am rebuilding this puzzle. I started with this first corner and I just started filling in the pieces, picking them off of here. All right, that's what I'm thinking that I would like to do there. So everything is stuck down. Just kind of let those last few scatter about. I did have like 4 left over, so I'm using 2 over here as just little embellishments on the photo mat side. So that's just another little treatment for one of our inside pages. And then we just have this one to go to do a little something over here. This Elegance collection is so beautiful, and there's so many wonderful cut aparts. So I have decided on for this particular panel, I am going to use this one that just has the rules on it. I'm going to bring in my great fountain pen that I made, and I think that's going to go right down there. And then remember our silver seal here. Now it looks a little bit plain and flat if we just use it that way. And of course this is like a metallic silver cardstock, so it's very resistant to any kind of inking of edges. So that's where I get my stays on. Use a little dauber just for the black stays on, and I'm just going to hit those edges, and this will stick. Okay, we've got this little guy, we have this little guy, and we have this little guy. Whoops, let's get this in here real quick before we go forward. This is just a sort of an irregular shaped photo mat from that one die that we've been using. Just going to get that somewhat centered, a little bit closer to that center fold, because I might put something out here on the corner of the edge. Okay, so now we're going to decorate our fronts of these a little bit, and I've got a couple of things just kind of ready. I just tore a piece of this pink paper, and I want to put it over here. the plan is, see my little film strip, isn't that cute? And I've got some ribbon sewn right to it there. Just went over to the sewing machine and did a little quick stitch. This little film strip is from the My Edges art journal die that I showed you earlier. So I got those two together, and I'm thinking I want to see the pink through the little film strip like that. All right, and for this one, we did the same type of deal, little torn piece of paper, a little bit of ribbon sewn to the edge, and I think I'm gonna attach that cute little zipper this time. For this last one, I am using this cut apart, and I've already stitched the black lace along the right edge. I'm going to put that there, but before I do, I've got this great shimmery adhesive kind of tape slash ribbon. Very old. I've had it forever. So I want to get that underneath there before I get that on there. Okay, so now I've got my cute 3 thingies here. Everybody's got a little bit of silver. Oh, I added this when you weren't looking. I had a second one of these little bee seals so that each one had some silver. I went ahead and put that on the bottom of that one. And I've got this one and this one. All right, now we're going to come back to these cute little pocket pages, okay? And we're going to decorate them. If you remember, we had ephemera cards, or journaling cards as they're called now, tucked inside, and I said I had to trim them. So I am cutting off just under 1/2 inch off the top. And when doing so, then you have a square corner up here. So I'm going to go ahead and re-round the corner with a small corner punch. Ink those edges really quick with black. And I'm going to repeat that for all 3. Now for the front of this one, if you remember my 2 silver little heart wands, I'm going to get these on here. I've got some ribbon tied around my chipboard heart waiting. So I'm just going to kind of position these 2 right here. Oop, whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, and then this will come over here. So we'll just put, I don't know if we need to put adhesive over the whole back of it. I think I'm just going to hit this right edge over here and stick this way over here. Okay, and find one of my clips. Kind of hold that down and let that one dry, and we'll work on this one. All right, this one is done. We're just going to clip that and set that aside with the rest of those guys. And then we're going to go and decorate these. If you remember, these are the ones that have the little pocket inside and the photo frames. So let's do that first. Let's get those in there. I have decided on these silver embellishments. These are die cuts from number 25, the double heart insert die set. So I just went ahead and put those at the tops of each of these three. And then I decided that I wanted to incorporate a little bit more of the journaling cards. So I took the large ones that are 4x6 and I folded 3 of them in half. So I'm going to work those in. But I do want to do something to these blank pages with a little bit of ink and some soft, just slight little stenciling. So let me grab some inks and let's do a few pages. All right, I am working with oxides and I have Worn Lipstick and Victorian Velvet here, 2 shades of pink. I've already done a little bit here. I think this is what I'm going to do, is just do a little bit off to the edge like that. So I'm going to start with that same dot stencil, and this is very random. It's not meant to be, you know, exact. So I'm just here and there rubbing this in with the darker pink. And I don't care about picking it up and checking it and going in the same place, because I'm moving around and I'm just keeping it very random. So looking almost ready. Okay, that's cute. And then I will take this cute, like floral style. And whenever I stencil, I try to go off of the page rather than trying to stay within the page with the design. I go off the page. It's just a little more interesting to the eye when you do it that way. So here I'm using the lighter pink, and again, I'm not going to fill every flower. I'm just sort of randomly moving around. It makes it a little more artsy, less perfect, and that's good. And I'm happy with that. So that will be sort of the intro to the paper pages. And so I think I'll just kind of play around with the rest of these. After all my stenciling was done, I did grab some older stamps, Graphic 45 ones that I have, and I did a little bit of that in the corners and adorn the front. Same with this one and this one. Okay, so that just brought a little of that black into the pink and the ivory. The stamps were from, gosh, the butterfly is really old. It's from Botanical Tea, stamp set number 3, a long time ago. And then this one might still be available, Create Yourself, from Graphic 45. So now I am just going to gather my little piles of like items and decide what order I want to put everything in and whether or not I need to stitch them or just put them into the book. All right, I'm getting my pages in here, and the order that I have decided on is the vellum pocket page is open. Then this page with the magnetic pocket, and then our fabricy ribbon edged page, and then our blank pages starting with our stamped and stenciled, and then our journaling card. And I have decided this is one of the few times that I think it's going to be okay with absolutely no stitching, and to slide these pages right into the TN. They are holding very nicely. This is a nice full book. It is beautiful. Look at all the ribbons hanging off. There is so much more that I want to do to this album, and maybe I will, maybe I won't, or maybe I'll leave it for the person who is receiving it to embellish it in her own way. But for now, I think that that's pretty good. So you may have noticed that I didn't end up using this after all, and so what I'm going to do, I think, is save it for sticking a little note in there when I gift this out to my friend. And I'll tell you right now, she knows it. It's Ginger. She's getting this because she's blingy and she likes pink and black and girly stuff. So I think I'll save that for that. So anyway, that is it for me today. I hope everybody liked the project and the new products by Elizabeth Craft Designs. I had a super great time making it, of course, and there will be more to come, I'm sure. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching.